All right, for our first story today. For years, India's economic roadmap has been measured in numbers: GDP growth rates, fiscal deficits, inflation targets. But this budget, it seems to be about something bigger. It's about where India is heading, who benefits, and how deeply it reshapes everyday life. The salaried middle class in particular, first-time entrepreneurs, AI-driven research, booming gig economy. The budget that we saw over the weekend signals a fundamental shift in priorities. One of the biggest wins, perhaps the most talked about takeaway, no income tax for earnings up to 12 lakh rupees for those under the new tax regime, as we all know. And the hope is that with this, disposable incomes will go up. It will see more consumption and household budgets will get breathing room. But this budget isn't just about tax relief, it's also about where that money will hopefully flow.
Now, the Udan scheme, for example, that the finance minister had mentioned, it expands connection of about 120 new destinations. Medical tourism, or what she called was Heal in India initiatives, give a push as well, boosting healthcare and access and investment. India's startup scene also got allocations, about 10,000 crore injected to fuel the first-time entrepreneurs. MSMEs get a credit boost, recognizing their small businesses aren't just the backbone of the economy, they're also the drivers there. And then there's the future. There is AI, there is R&D, deep tech innovation, with about 500 crore push for AI and education as well. Now, 50,000 Atal tinkering of labs to sort of train the next wave of innovators, that's been allocated for. Meanwhile, traditional sectors don't really get left behind. For example, Makhana, called the Black Diamond of Bihar, gets the global recognition as well. Leather, footwear, toys, manufacturing, all in a position to give India and make India help become a manufacturing hub, okay? And also to ensure that it happens in a sustainable production and exports take a boost. So that's been sort of the key highlights coming in from the budget.
Okay, so as we talk about what the budget symbolizes, aspiration as much as it does economics, the larger hope that people will take the money they're saving and actually take it and spend it, consumption will take place. As we talk about all of that, we thought we need to give it the Breakfast Club treatment, and by that we mean understand how all of these bigger concepts will translate into your daily life. Kapil Mittal is with us. He's a tax expert. We also have Professor Vikas Prakash. He's from the Great Lakes Institute of Management in Gurgaon, and we'll go over to each of them to understand a little bit more of all the applications we've seen play out over the last 2 days as we've discussed this. Okay, we'll go over first to you, Kapil. Kapil, just tell our audiences, please, first, let's just break down that big takeaway for them, then we'll come with more complex questions to you. But this much talked about 12 lakh, the change that we're going to see on taxes when it comes to if you're earning up to 12 lakh. Some saying that, wait, what about if I'm earning a little more than that? So 12 lakh 80, maybe 13 lakhs. What am I going to see happen then? How do the tax slab works? A lot of confusion. Can you just clear that up for us first, Kapil?
So, Toyab, first of all, through this medium, I would like to congratulate Madam FM to provide such a balanced budget, which will definitely going to, which is very focused on the Indian economic growth, along with providing benefit to individual taxpayers. So this is very good budget, but execution is very important with respect to this budget, and they are very less kitty in their hand to provide freebies to individual or some other expense. So this has to be controlled with respect to what they are spending. That needs to be controlled to actually got the impact of this budget. Coming to your question, to you mentioned that there is confusion. So very simple budget and very good move. They have tried to simplify the budget. So they have made amendment in the new tax regime only.
Right.
There is no amendment in the old tax regime. And under the new tax regime, you have only one exemption which you can claim, that is NPS benefit of 50,000 rupees. So from the point of view of an individual who is earning up to 12 lakh rupees per annum, so there is no tax. But yes, there is a slab rate which create confusion in an individual or in a layman mind, that there is a tax slab from 0 to 4 lakh, 4 lakh to 8 lakh, 8 lakh to 12 lakh, which says 5%, 10%, 15% tax rate. So if you have an income up to 12 lakh rupees, there is no tax by providing an tax rebate. So if you, for example, if you are having an income of 12 lakh 75,000 and you are a salaried person, your tax would be there, but the government will give you an tax rebate. So you are not required to pay tax. But if your salary is more than 13 lakh or 12 lakh 75,000 and you are a salaried person, then you are supposed to pay tax, which for which slab rate is 0 to 4 nil, 4 to 8 5%, and so on. So whatever tax you are going to pay and what you were paying earlier in the previous year, there is a significant reduce in that taxes also. So, Madam FM is very clear. With respect to a person who is earning 1 lakh per month, there is nil tax rate. The person who is earning more than 12 lakh and up to 16 lakh also, so they will also get a benefit of 80,000 reduced taxes. So everyone is going to get benefit under this, and you need to understand that there is a tax up to 12 lakh also, but you will get a rebate. I hope I am able to clear this.
Yeah, just a couple of more questions there, right? We've had the weekend being spent over making calls to our CAs to really understand. The CAs also seem to be a little confused over how the cess is going to be calculated, how this rebate is going to work, if the exemption is actually up till the additional 70,000. So does this mean 12 lakh 70,000 is up till when you don't have to pay? We're trying to work all these things out, but clearly what we want to understand is this beneficial only for the salaried class? What happens to the gig economy workers? And what about individuals who have alternate sources of income? How will this pan out for them?
So, Sonal, this we all need to understand first of all, whoever is an individual and filing his return under individual capacity, that person is going to get benefit of this slab. Up to 12 lakh, there is no tax. So whether that person is a gig worker or an independent professional or an individual earning under a proprietorship, working under a proprietorship, they all will get benefit of this tax rate. Up to 12 lakh, there is no tax. For salaried class, because there is one additional standard deduction which they get. So for salaried class, 12 lakh 75,000 is the figure up to which there is no income tax. So as I mentioned earlier, the tax will be calculated up to 12 lakh 75,000 also, but you will get rebate of whatever taxes would be there up to that. If you have an income more than that, then you need to pay taxes. So it's very clear. This benefit is available to all who is filing their return under individual capacity.
Okay, let's just check in. I know we promised that we're going to do a lot of looking at how this applies to everyone, but I do want to sort of go to the macro picture for just a second. I just thought it was very interesting. Professor Vikas Prakash, if we could just ask you, a lot of the op-eds, the editorials that have come out in the last 2 days, they've called the tax discussion that took place on Saturday, the budget, the announcements after, they've called it a big, sweet tax gift for everyone. And they've also said that it's coming from the government almost as a gift to those who regularly pay their taxes. And I just want to ask you, A, if you look at it like that, if you do see it as the government trying to reward good behavior, and B, do you actually think we're going to see that increase? That's the big question. Will we see the increase in consumption actually take place? Or the criticism that, look, the percentage of people that pay taxes is very small, so this won't be such a big thing. Do you think that actually stands?
A very good morning to everybody, to you and the viewers. Very rightly put in. So there is a lot of joy in the economy, amongst the society, that there is ultimately for so many years we've been waiting that the tax rates, maybe there will be a significant tax relief for the taxpayer. So that the finance minister has certainly done. It was being awaited for last 4 or 5 years actually, because initially when the government came into power, there was a lot of stringent measures that it has taken. Remember, implementation of GST, and before that demonetization, and there was always a promise from the government that we are going to bring some relief to the taxpayer, which has actually come now. So this is really heartening. So Probably it is because some people feel that it is largely a populist measure, but I see that overall the taxpayers base has increased. All this effort for last 10 years has paid dividends. Today we have 10.4 crore people who paying taxes. So this definitely widens the tax base, and it is expected to lower the tax burden on people. In future, as the compliance increases, we might see that the benefit goes further to the taxpayer. Now,
Okay.
second part. Second part is about how much of this is going to translate into consumption. So uh, this is going to be an enigma. We really do not know because in macroeconomics, we study that incomes of the people can be increased through different ways. For example, if there is capital expenditure, it provides new jobs and it has huge multiplier chains. Multiplier chains are that if government spends, let's say, 100 rupees and the marginal propensity to consume of the economy is, let's say, 80%. So the multiplier becomes 5 times of the money spent by the government. So if the government spends 100 rupees, so overall income generated is 500 rupees. Okay. It's simple. Like I got 100 rupees, so I spend 80 rupees of that.
Sure.
Somebody gets an income of 80, then he spends 80% of that. Someone else gets 64 rupees as an income. So this way the income keeps on rising. But now we are assuming that the marginal propensity to consume is 80%. In India, it is not that. So in India, it is somewhere around 50%. So the multiplier effect is going to be much weaker than what textbooks generally mention or what usually happens in the Western countries. But at the same time, over the period, the government has been striving to increase the consumptions. And there was a time, probably by 2 years back, the total composition of private consumption in GDP was 58%. But now it has gone up to 62%. So this multiplier effect is going to
True.
rise
But
only.
Professor Prakash, I understand there are only so many tools available with the government to sort of make a push and they can hope that it will happen. One big sort of challenge that has come up is that a lot of this income is not translated into increase in salaries. We've been looking at overall how this has not been percolating down in the pyramid, which is perhaps, and we found a mention of that in the economic survey as well. But Professor Prakash, the question is this: could there have been other tools that the government could have used to put in to increase consumption and more so urban consumption, because rural consumption is rocking at this point?
That's right. So, as I was mentioning, that there are different ways in which the government would trigger consumption. One is by the capex, the government spending. Other is by transfers, subsidies. So the multiplier effect with the capex is the highest. With this kind of income transfer through low taxes, the multiplier effect is lower. So what did the government forego by giving this tax relief? Almost 1 lakh crores of tax. Okay. If this 1 lakh crores of income was spent on skilling, of course, skilling has been given a lot of push in this budget. I'm so happy about it because ultimately we've got to increase the productivity of our labor. So if this was spent on other social sectors, I believe that there would have been a larger consumption boom, which we could have expected. But because our people, the society has been waiting for some tax relief to be given, so this measure was taken up. You know, public is not economists. You know, in a cricket match, on every ball they would want that the batsman should hit a six, but it is for the batsman to see whether he can hit that or not.
That's a
So
good
for public,
analogy.
it is
Yeah.
for
Because also,
public
if
it
you
is
see, the
an
stock
event.
markets were pretty much flat throughout the day,
Yeah.
and they ended
That's right.
not on a high note as well. So clearly, the street has not really responded to this budget. Yeah.
That's right.
But that gift they were waiting for this year at least seemingly has come. Let's just go to a couple to
Yes.
understand a little more there. Kapil, there are fewer exemptions available in this new tax regime. So if one is doing financial planning, saving for their kids' education, trips, retirement, other things like that, how should they look at their financial planning now?
So, as I mentioned already that they have not made any change with respect to old tax regime. So under the new tax regime, an individual has only one exemption which is available under NPS. So there is no other exemption available. So whatever planning, tax planning, retirement planning, or other things an individual need to do, they need to consider means neutrally, not thinking respect to tax planning on itself. So what they need to do under the tax planning, if we particularly say NPS is the option where they can deduction up to 50,000. Yes, this deduction can increase if their employer is providing an option that they can invest under NPS through their employer. So in those cases, you can make a more NPS investment and you will get more exemption up to 10% of your total basic salary on an annual basis. And for government employees, it is 14%. With respect to when we say with respect to their retirement planning and all, I feel the PPF and the ELSS are very good option where individual will get a very good return, and along with that there is no tax. It exempt case. So whenever you will get your PF amount, there is no tax on it. So from the point of your retirement planning, now things will drastically going to change, because earlier you were doing your LIC, your Mediclaim, and you were sometimes taken for yourself, which was not required. If an individual required a 50 lakh or 1 crore term loan or LIC, they gone up taking 2 crore or 3 crore just because of their tax saving purposes. But now you will only going to invest what is your requirement, and the rest of the money you are going to put into the system, which Mr. Professor Prakash was also saying that if you are giving an petty money, a small money on a monthly basis in the hand of an individual, what we personally feel, they are going to invest that money into the market only. They will go to going to purchase a mutual fund. They will invest into the they are going to purchase shares, or they will go some people will go up to purchasing of the commodity also. So you will boosting the economy directly, that the amount of money which people are saying they are going to invest into the market only, and which will support the market to get more and more return. Along with that, that will also
Sure.
the FII which have
Yeah, but Kapil, I
overtaken.
think what Professor was trying to say was also that a lot of these benefits largely go to younger people who have just started working, who are in that economic bracket, and how they spend is a story that nobody really knows these days. We are all trying to catch up with that. But I have another personal finance question that I want to ask you. There is a lot of chatter about the new tax bill. Can you tell us a little more about what it's expected to be? Of course, simplifying tax is something that all of us would just love, wouldn't we? So what
Yes.
exactly is the expectation there? And if you have more details to share with us.
So, Sonal, there are not much detail available with respect to new tax code, but yes, what Sitaraman has said in her speech, which clearly shows that their intention is to simplify the tax structure, new tax structure. She has clearly mentioned that what is the current size of a income tax act is going to reduce and will be half of what is currently there. So this shows that the structure is going to be simplified. Along with this, what we see from over 3 or 5 years, they have trying to abolish the old tax structure, which is very
Correct. Of
complicated
course.
and very challenging for an individual to understand and to get do their taxes, reduce their taxes, considering multiple things, and end up doing excessive investment, which is not required also. So from the new tax regime, we understand that they are simplifying the thing, and we personally feel what they are doing in the last couple of years, they are trying to simplify the thing. Initially, when GST came into picture, it was very difficult to understand, but
Yeah.
slowly and gradually they have improved
Was?
it a lot.
Isn't it still quite
It
a
is very
matter of
smooth, yeah.
debate?
Yeah. It's matter of debate, but when you see on a ground level, there are few things which need to be rectified and which need to be
Yeah,
modified with respect to an individual perspective. But otherwise, you will say
yeah.
the tax evasion, they have blocked it somewhere. Yes, there are few things where government need to be think with respect to an individual or a broader perspective.
Got
But
it.
otherwise,
Okay.
we see that new tax bill is going to be reduce the complexity and the number of unnecessary and those kind of section.
So nobody really knows what's coming there. One just hopes that it becomes a little bit easier. These multiple
Yeah.
slabs, getting a rebate, then a cess, etc., gets simplified a little bit. But that's the hope. Yeah.
So speaking of people not knowing what's coming, Professor Prakash, we'll go back to the macro picture for a second and ask you, this budget comes at the time of global ripples in the sense that we're seeing protectionist economic policies coming forth, the US being very big on tariff. How are we going to see all of that filter down and affect the common man in the next few months, if we are at all? How do you think India should play it? What are your predictions there?
Yeah, that's very interesting. And I would like to relate this to our initial question on consumption. Okay. So, studies have shown that whenever this kind of an income relief is given in terms of tax cuts, so if the consumer feels that this is going to be more of a temporary phenomena, then they don't spend, then they save. And when there is a lot of uncertainty in future, then they will not spend, they will save. Okay. I spoke to various people. I asked them that, all right, now you're getting probably 80,000 more or 70,000 more. What are you going to do with it? There were several who said that future is becoming more uncertain. Now, why is the future becoming more uncertain? Last year, there were almost 80 countries which have gone through elections. And more than 50 countries have seen a change in the governance. There is a new government. And with the biggest economy, US, threatening all others about various kinds of tariffs, it has made the water so muddy. People are not able to see how things are going to happen in future. So on that account, I am going to see, I probably see that a large amount of this money, which is going to come into hands of people, it is going to savings. Maybe from indirect way, if it goes into savings and it helps the private investment in terms of lowering of interest rates. That's also we are expecting that new monetary policy will show a lowering of repo rates.
Yeah,
Okay.
they've
So,
got their
so,
work
so
cut out. Yeah.
yeah. And but in this overall global uncertainty, we do see that there is some firm commitment between relationships that India is going to enjoy with many other countries, especially
Sure.
with US.
Sure.
So, and to some extent, I feel the amount of threatening that Trump is giving, it is actually not possible. That if he keeps on blocking
Yeah.
imports,
Yeah.
then what will happen to the cost of goods within US? They're
But
already reeling under
talking
high
about cost, can I
inflation.
quickly squeeze in another question, Professor, for you?
Yeah.
With the rupee weakening and so much of boost actually being put into, say, domestic travel, international travel obviously getting more expensive for Indians, domestic push being made in, do you see that adding up a little bit?
Yes. The government has been focusing a lot on this campaign, Incredible India. They've been wanting to bring in more tourism. Of course, the foreign tourist as well as the domestic. Since our incomes are rising, especially, although we say that there is a K-shaped recovery, but K-shaped recovery also has lots of benefit because there is a lot of money available with a very large number of people at the top of the pyramid. We will not say just top of the pyramid, on the higher side of the pyramid. And that leads to a lot of consumption. And tourism is going to be one of the major sectors which can benefit. And that is what has been attempted. I know the government has been trying to put together all the attractive destinations, more information about attractive destinations.
Yeah.
Institutions, students have been given projects to find out and create those kind of content. for consumption, about how a particular place, unknown place, has such huge tourist potential. So that is definitely going to happen, and we saw in this budget that there was a lot of talk about tourism. Along with that, it needs to be connected with a lot of things. A lot of things on, let us say, skill building. A lot of things on mobility. We're talking about more waterways. We're talking about 100 more airports. Okay, all this is going to actually give synergies in terms of boost to tourism, boost to local entrepreneurship, and of course demand, all kinds of
Yeah.
demand.
Yeah.
This is heartening. This is indeed very good.
Yeah.
And I forgot to talk about the rupee declining. So the word sees that rupee is depreciating. Yes, rupee is depreciating. But when it comes to competition about tourism with, let's say, Sri Lanka, so which currency has fallen faster? Sri Lankan rupiah. So they get the advantage. Similarly, textiles, which country gets more advantage? Bangladesh. All countries have problems. Because of that, their currencies have fallen even faster. So if we look at the real effective exchange rate, which is the true value of rupee, with in comparison to 40 other trading nations, rupee has appreciated. Rupee is overvaluated by 8%.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
makes our exports more difficult.
That's true. Yeah.
Professor Prakash, we have run out of time on this segment, but we do want to thank you. Kapil, thank you. Kapil, you've sort of shed light on the implications for every one of our viewers. And Professor Prakash, you've taught us in the last few minutes just a little bit about what we can expect in the next few months.